Johnny Sig is back, joined with my brother from a different mother, Kevin Perry. We're going to unpack this weekend's boxing main attractions. Lomachenko is back. Gervonta Davis is back. They're not joined like me and Kevin are. They're in separate bouts. Remember back in the day, HBO and Showtime would have separate fighters and separate bouts, or even on the same card, like Roy Jones and Bernard Hopkins be on the same card and not fight each other. Well, hopefully this leads to the ultimate showdown between Lomachenko and Gervonta Davis. Kev, take it away, brother. I don't know if you caught that. I was like drooling over the thought of Lomachenko versus Gervonta Davis, but I don't want to go too far ahead. Kev, how you doing, brother?
I'm doing all right. How you doing? Little saucy over there.
Yeah, man, I'm feeling great today, brother.
So you look. Actually, we talked, I believe, yesterday. You didn't even know that there was any big fights coming up this weekend. What you been up to?
I've been doing a lot of acting, a lot of traveling. I went from Vegas to Arizona to Salt Lake City, Utah. I think I've been through 6 or 7 states in the past 3 months, picking up these acting gigs. And they've been a lot of fun, man. And I did some research today, and it's actually a pretty intriguing weekend we got here, Kev. What's your thoughts to start off? Let's start off with ESPN Plus. Lomachenko going against Nakakasi. Like, what do you have for that fight?
I like Lomachenko, but the Japanese fighter Nakatani. I mean, he comes to fight. His only loss was to Teofimo Lopez, and that was probably Lopez's most difficult fight. I mean, but besides Lomachenko, but I really thought. Just his, Nakatani is about 5'11". That's pretty tall for somebody who fights at 135 pounds. And he's coming off a very impressive win over Felix Verdejo, who knows what his future is going to be like with that whole fiasco with him allegedly throwing his mistress off of a bridge and kidnapping her. And I mean, the story is just so. I don't want to go into that too much, but the story is just so bizarre. But Nakatani put him away, in 9 rounds, knocked him out, and actually got off the floor twice to pull that victory out. So, I mean, he's definitely a tough customer. You got to give Lomachenko a lot of credit for fighting this guy in his first fight, coming back from that devastating loss to Lopez. I mean, devastating in the sense where he was a pretty big favorite and Lopez was relatively untested, coming in, I believe, at 15-0. So you got to give Lopez credit for stepping up. But if Lomachenko wants to get himself back in the title contention, this is the type of opponent that he needs to beat. Somebody that's up in the top 10, somebody who's pretty highly regarded as a top lightweight. And you have to look at it this way. Most of the top lightweights are not going to want to fight Lomachenko because he doesn't bring anything to the table as far as any titles or anything right now. So he's kind of in a rebuilding process. But I like Lomachenko just because of the skills. I mean, you got to go with him. Nakatani is very tough. He's very rugged, but he's got a lot of holes in his game that I think Lomachenko can exploit as long as he doesn't get overwhelmed, because this guy is he's a truth machine, as I like to say sometimes.
I like that expression. And let's take a look at the records. Look at Lomachenko's record, 14-2, 10 KOs. I have a little bit of an issue with that because, he's been a professional since 2013. And now we're in 2021. That's 2 fights a year. Okay. 16 total fights. You look at Nakatani record, 19-1, 13 KOs. All right. A little bit busier of a pro. Both guys lost to Teofimo Lopez. Teofimo is obviously coming into his own. If you look at Takanadi's record overall, though, in his last 6 fights, he's won 5 by knockout. The only one he lost was against Teofimo Lopez. This guy could fight, Kev.
Yeah, he can fight and he can crack, and he's got an awkward kind of style too. He's a tall fighter, but he doesn't necessarily always fight tall. He kind of comes forward. He's more of an aggressive type of fighter, and the thing with him is he's very entertaining to watch. So I think this is actually kind of the this is a steal. I mean, this is definitely a fight when you consider what we're going to talk about next, which is the $75 pay-per-view with excuse me, Gervonta Davis versus Mario Barrios. The fight with Lomachenko is on ESPN Plus, and ESPN Plus, I believe, is $4.99 a month, and you get all the boxing you want and all kinds of other sports, like soccer and baseball and cricket, and if you're into that kind of stuff. And Davis is fighting a relatively unknown fighter in Barrios for $75. So in that sense, you got, I mean, this fight definitely has a lot of value there, and the undercard is not too bad either. We're not going to talk about that, but if you want to definitely check, if you're interested in this fight, I think you should definitely watch the undercard. You have anything else to say about this fight, John, with Lomachenko and Nakatani, or who you think is going to come out victorious in this one?
I think it's a very good fight. I think both guys obviously are in a situation where I'm not going to say it's a desperate need to win situation. I mean, Nakatani's only lost 1 fight. Lomachenko's only lost 2 fights. We all know the story about, he was fighting for a world title in Lomachenko in his second bout, I believe, against a very tough opponent, against Orlino Salido. So, I mean, I think that you don't want to have 2 back-to-back losses if you're Lomachenko, especially when you're considered world-class, pound-for-pound, world beater. Everyone in the world is saying, this is the guy, this is the guy. 2 losses in a row, you ain't that guy anymore. We'll give you the benefit of the doubt after 1 and against, albeit, a very tough opponent in Teofimo Lopez. So I think we're going to see the best version that Lomachenko has to offer tomorrow night. Now, as far as Nakatani is concerned, this is a big display for him to put himself on a showcase display to the masses on ESPN, albeit Plus, not major ESPN, but ESPN Plus. So the boxing universe will be watching. If he could dismiss Lomachenko, that really pushes his career to the upper stratosphere of getting big paydays, hence to where we're going next. With the likes of Gervonta Davis of the world, now different weight classes, but we all know the 135 to 140, there's wiggle room there. We could play around with that.
So just real quick, you want to give me your prediction, or you kind of on the fence there? Seems like you're fence sitting to me.
I'm fencing. If I had to pick right now, gun to the head, ready? Lomachenko's going to win tomorrow night.
All right.
He'll win by decision.
Okay, that sounds well. I just looked at the odds a little bit earlier. I believe Lomachenko is a 15-1 favorite. So
hello.
I think you got it right there. But
yeah.
But at the same time, I think with Nakatani is not going to go in there trying to win a decision in the United States. So this bout definitely does have a lot of intrigue because he's going to go in there with the right mindset. And I think when you're far away from home, I think the mindset is everything in professional boxing. Don't just think that you're going to go in there and scrape by and win a close fight. You got to definitely make it decisive, and I think that's what he's going to try to do. Also on Saturday, and I kind of call this one. Well, I'm just going to ask you the question since it's on the screen. Is this fight worth the $60 plus price tag?
Fuck no.
So in the fight we're talking about here is Gervonta Davis. He's facing Mario Barrios for the I don't even want to even give the fight justice as a world title fight. They're
Oh,
billing
come
it
on,
as
Kev.
that.
Let's let
But
everyone know it's for the WBA regular.
well, yeah, I was trying I was trying to avoid that. But anyways, it's a fight at 140 pounds. It's Gervonta Davis's first foray into the 140-pound division, and he's fighting a very respectable opponent. I believe he's a top 10 fighter at 140 pounds, and Barrios is undefeated. I think he comes in at 26-0 with 17 knockouts. Gervonta Davis is what's his record is
24
24-0,
no, 23 KOs.
23 knockouts, and he's knocked out some pretty good fighters. Leo Santa Cruz in his last fight, and that was pretty entertaining. Probably the knockout of the year last year. So, I mean, obviously, you don't think it's worth $60, but I mean, is this actually a pretty good fight on paper? You think it's something that's going to be competitive? How do you see this playing out, John?
Well, I see Gervonta Davis kicking this guy's ass. I mean, Mario Barrios is a decent fighter. It's a good test. Again, step up in class for Gervonta, who's definitely doing his thing. You mentioned the aforementioned Leo Santa Cruz last fight, probably the knockout of the year in that category. He went through Yuriorkis Gamboa. So, he's stepping up his opposition one fight at a time. And, hopefully we get the winner of the aforementioned fight we had just spoken about with Lomachenko and Nakatani, or guys of that category, because let's face facts, guys. Gervonta Davis, if he keeps his head on his shoulders, he is a very sensational fighter. He's explosive. He knows how to box. He's very passionate. He's dangerous. And that's what we love about boxing. Dangerous, explosive fighters. And youthful. Gervonta Tank Davis has that on his side.
Yeah, most definitely, John. Wow, it's a really good fight. It's on paper. I guess just the whole thing with the $65 or $75 or whatever it is. I think they've done a pretty good job trying to build this guy into a star, but at the same time, I think you kind of kill some of the momentum by putting these fights on pay-per-view. But at the same time, I do got to give Davis credit because they're putting him on pay-per-view, but he's entertaining. So I mean, he does put on good fights. He can sell tickets. So I kind of understand. They're trying to kind of build something here, and obviously it's a business. I'm sure Davis, he commands a pretty big purse. So, to kind of pay him what he feels he deserves. Some of these fights you have to put on pay-per-view, but I think you kind of do alienate your audience a little bit. And also there's just been so much boxing, and there's, I believe next month or the following month we're getting another pay-per-view actually in a few weeks we're getting Tyson Fury against Deontay Wilder. So I'm just going to see the pay-per-views that are coming up this summer, because obviously most people are not going to buy all of them. I mean, I just
can't. Who could afford to buy all of them?
We got Manny Pacquiao against Errol Spence. That's also this summer.
That's definitely pay-per-view worthy.
And then, although it hasn't been announced yet, but I'm pretty much assuming we're going to get Canelo at some point. I don't know if that's going to be on pay-per-view or if that's going to be on DAZN. That hasn't been announced yet, but that's also a possibility. That and then even DAZN costs $20. But at least you're getting more value for your money when you're gonna subscribe to DAZN to go watch Canelo, because you do get the monthly subscription. You do get to watch some other bouts. So and I just forgot this got pushed back from last weekend because Teofimo Lopez got contracted coronavirus. So
that still exists.
So he was supposed to fight this past weekend, and that bout has been postponed to August. So that's another pay-per-view. So if you just want to do the math, that's about maybe $400, maybe $300-$400 worth of pay-per-views in total. So, and do you think people are going to actually buy all these? So since we're just discussing the issue right now, out of those four, and I'm kind of getting ahead of myself here, but
No, you're good.
But since we're on the topic, out of those pay-per-views I just mentioned, which one do you think has the most value? I mean, I'm just gonna give my opinion real fast. I think probably Spence Pacquiao is the one that belongs on pay-per-view the most, or has probably the most value. And then second would be I don't know. Second is kind of difficult because I don't know. Well, I'm just gonna leave Canelo out because he hasn't had a fight announced yet. So second definitely would have to be Tyson Fury and Wilder. What do you think?
I agree on both accounts with you. I think the best value, the best fight you're going to get is going to be Pacquiao and Errol Spence. Like, for the money. For sure, you're going to get a guaranteed awesome fight, in my opinion. Now, for the spectacle, looking at Tyson Fury, Deontay Wilder for a third time, all the drama that goes into it, that is also pay-per-view worthy. Big drama show, as Triple G would say, in Vegas, T-Mobile Arena. You have these big guys, huge athletes like that are willing to go, let's face facts, toe-to-toe, rubber match. There has been a lot of shit talking throughout the course of this thing, and Deontay Wilder's got a lot to prove. I don't think he's done just yet. Now, I'm not saying he's going to win the fight, but I think he's going to certainly fight better than he did in the last fight against Tyson Fury. Those are the two fights that are pay-per-view worthy.
Interesting. I did get a little bit ahead of myself there with discussing these pay-per-views. But let's go back to Barrios and Gervonta Davis. I'm just going to give a quick prediction. I like Davis in this one, but I also think Barrios has a very good chance of being very competitive. It's just one of those where I guess when you don't know enough about one fighter, it just makes it hard to pick him. And I've seen Barrios fight, maybe a couple times, and he hasn't impressed me like 100%, but he's impressed me in spots. But Davis seems like he's a little bit more seasoned than Barrios is, but Barrios was a very good amateur. He's a natural 140 pounder, so it should be pretty interesting. But there's obviously a reason why Davis is fighting Barrios. So and his team they're very intelligent. So just out of pure logic, you got to go with Davis. I think he's about a 3-1 favorite, somewhere in that range, 3 or 4-1 favorite, and Barrios is somewhere in the plus 300 range, 3-1 underdog. Who do you got in that
Gervonta Davis? He's going to go through rounds. He's going to get out there, and Mario Barrios is a tough guy, man. He's tough out. I'm going to say it's going to take about 8 or 9 until a stoppage or a knockout, but Gervonta Davis will prevail, and I believe that he'll move on to bigger and better things. And if you look at that weight category, I mean, there's definitely people there. Like, I would love to see him against Devin Haney. That's a fight. I mean, imagine that one, especially this, early in their careers.
Gervonta Davis against Devin Haney.
That would be amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, this early in their career. I just watched. Have you seen like the documentary on Showtime called The Kings with Duran, Leonard, Hagler, Hearns?
No, I haven't seen that.
Oh my God. They've had 3 episodes so far.
Okay.
They're incredible. And the final installment's coming up, I believe, this week. Oh my goodness, bro. I wish these kids of today's generation would watch that, because I think it would inspire them. They fought each other all the time, meaning Hearns, Hagler, Leonard, Duran. And they did it for pride, for ego, and for prize.
But the thing is, I think we're kind of making a little bit of an unfair comparison comparing him to those guys, because really out of all those guys if we want to talk about Devin Haney, if we want to talk about Gervonta Davis, Teofimo Lopez, and Ryan Garcia. So this is, I guess you could call, I don't know. I mean, I don't even want to put him anywhere near the category. But the bottom line is none of these guys really have accomplished much, except for Teofimo Lopez. I'll give him his credit because he went in there and blasted out Richard Comey in 2 rounds, and then he stepped up to the plate, his 16th fight, and fought, one of the best amateurs of all time in Vasily Lomachenko, and a bona fide first ballot Hall of Famer in Lomachenko, and beat him. I mean, he beat him decisively. I mean, it wasn't like a blowout. I mean, on the scorecards it was, but in the sense where even Lomachenko himself was saying, "Oh, well, I think it was a draw." So when you say you think the fight that you were in was a draw, that means you lost.
You lost.
I mean, yeah. So that's how I look at it like that. Ryan Garcia's best fight, I mean, he almost pretty much got knocked out. His best victory, his last victory, and then he had another fight scheduled, and then from what I understand, he said he had mental health issues, and the next week he was in like Cancun or something having a party. So
is it a publicity stunt? What is it, right?
I don't know, but the bottom line is I don't see any of these fights between these 4 people happening anytime soon. And I definitely don't see them happening at 135 pounds. So I just think discussing it's just so sickening to give these guys so much attention without actually doing the work.
Well, that's why I want them to have like fights like the guys did from yesteryear. Like I was talking about, it's like that's when they get their street cred. That's when they show their real passion. That's when they show their real commitment to the sport. And so they have to earn that. And like certainly the aforementioned guys, again, like Sugar Ray, Duran, all those cats from the 4 Kings, they did that. These kids nowadays, it's the perfect time. They're young, they're hungry, they're at their peak, right? They should be hungry, they should be at their peak. Let's get it. I'd love to see it.
Yeah, it's I just don't see any of those fights happening. No, not even a snowball of a chance in the next year or 2. I just don't see
or
it
ever. Like, I mean, are we ever getting Errol Spence and Terrence Crawford? Is that ever going to happen? Probably not.
You know what I could see, and I'm I hate playing the hypothetical game because it's just mythical matchup, as you would call it.
Right.
I could see if Gervonta Davis's profile builds and Lopez's profile builds, just say 3 years down the road, and they're both at welterweight, and that might be a big fight. But it's just so far in the future, it's just not even worth discussing. So let's move on. You wanted to ask, you had some questions for me. I
want to know what fights you care about this weekend that are kind of like sleeper fights. Okay. All right.
You're gonna put me to sleep, John.
Yeah. Here we go. Erickson Lubin versus Jerson Rosario. Do we care about this?
No, that's a good undercard fight. I mean, for a pay-per-view, that's a pretty good undercard. That's on the undercard of Gervonta Davis and Mario Barrios. And in actual reality, that's actually probably, I wouldn't say it's a better fight because as far as like from name value, they're not as big of a name as Davis. But as far as like, they're probably, it's a real 50-50 fight. So in that sense, I think it's a pretty good fight. And I think the winner will definitely, if Erickson Lubin wins, I mean, I think that guarantees him a title shot against the winner of Brian Castano and Charlo.
And that's on Showtime pay-per-view. Yes. Now, we'll move over to ESPN Plus on the undercard of the Lomachenko fight. We got Rob Brandt, who I'm a fan of. I think he's a good fighter.
And try pronouncing this name right here.
And now, ready? I'm Janabek, Ali Mek, Andy. I'm usually good at this. All right. Janabek Ali Makhandana.
I don't know anything about the second, the name that you just. I don't know anything about him. Rob Brandt usually makes for pretty good fights, entertaining fights. He throws a lot of punches. I haven't seen him in a while, so I'd like to see what his demeanor's like coming back from. I don't know how many fights has he had since he lost to Ryota Murata.
I believe it's only one.
He's only had one comeback.
I believe it's only one.
So I haven't seen him in a while, so I definitely interested in seeing his progress. Coming back from that loss a couple of fights ago.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's really it. I mean, that's pretty much the weekend, guys. We're back and let's recap a couple things here, Kev, if you don't mind. Inoue.
Yep.
Did Inoue. He gets you the fuck out of the way.
Yeah.
Yes, that's what he does.
Yeah, he looked well, his opponent, just looked like a deer in headlights. He was just scared to really engage or whatnot. But that's because Inoue is just such a devastating fighter. He knows how to fight going backwards. He knows how to fight coming forward. He's got good footwork. He's really the total package. So looking forward to seeing somebody who can give him some resistance. Nino Donaire did pretty good, but
yes,
Nino Donaire is getting up there in age. I wouldn't mind seeing him fight Guillermo Rigondeaux. Why not? Rigondeaux moved up and fought Lomachenko, so if he's fighting at bantamweight, I think he's definitely a formidable opponent. He's kind of old. He's definitely not the most entertaining fighter, but he's somebody that might be able to push him back and give him, some resistance at this stage in his career because he's been so inactive. I don't think I wouldn't pick Rigondeaux to beat him, but Rigondeaux is such a talented fighter. He's tricky, he can punch. So that might be interesting. But and then what other fights happened this past weekend? I'm just recollect.
Dogbo. Isaac Dogbo beat Adam Lopez.
Oh yeah, that was
a thriller.
Pretty entertaining fight.
Yeah, that was really good.
It could have went. It was a fight that could have went either way.
Very close fight.
But I thought Adam Lopez he closed a lot stronger. I think a lot of people thought he got robbed. I didn't necessarily think he got robbed. But you can really make a case that he does. Well, it's one of those things where when one fighter starts strong and the other fighter who closes strong, usually that person kind of has the crowd on their side. It's kind of like the situation Devin Haney was in a few weeks back when he fought Jorge Linares. When he fought Jorge Linares, he pretty much won the first 10 rounds pretty clearly and then got buzzed in, I think, the 10th or 11th round and started grabbing and holding for the last 3 rounds, just fighting to survive. And that kind of got ingrained in the memory of a lot of people. Not that anybody said Linares won the fight, but in the sense where that was the focus. That's what kind of stuck out in people's mind is what they saw at the end of the fight. And I think that happens in a lot of bouts when people are watching a fight, when one fighter kind of starts real strong and then the other fighter comes back and wins the late rounds. They kind of usually get the
impression.
They get the support of the crowd because the crowd is, very, and usually by that time, people who are at the fight, they've been drinking and they're buzzed and they kind of, their minds are very short. So, and that's just kind of the nature of sports in general. So,
this is very true.
But yeah, I definitely thought that fight could have went either way, but I didn't think it was a robbery to give the fight to Dogboe. I just think it was one of those things where, he won the early rounds and maybe you forgot that he really started so strongly and probably won maybe 4 of the first 5 rounds. You give him 1 or 2 of the next, 5, then, he wins the fight. So, and then obviously, we're in the, the 10-point must system where one fighter could win a round very decisively and win 10-9. And another fighter could kind of squeak by in a round and it's still 10-9. So it's just the way boxing is scored. It makes it very difficult sometimes. If you kind of pack, most of your offense into 3 rounds instead of kind of spreading it out into 5, it definitely can make the scorecards look a little bit skewed in a different manner and give a different impression of a fight to the fans watching at home.
Couple takeaways from what you said right there. First of all, I've had Adam Lopez on the show twice. Great guy, and I spoke to him since the fight had happened, and he's got his head up. He was happy with his performance. Hard fight, very good fight. That same day of the fight, before the fight, I had lunch with Rachel Charles, one of his managers, and they were very optimistic about his chances of winning that night, and they love their charge. And then I spoke to Rachel afterwards, and nothing but proud. Like, it's a fight, and you go out there, you win some, you lose some in terms of maybe sometimes on the scorecards. And this is where I wish, and this is what I'm leaning towards, is that we had an uneven amount of rounds, 11 or 13. I don't understand the even amount of rounds. Something the UFC does really good, 5 rounds. 3 rounds. Yes, there are draws sometimes. Okay. It's inevitable. It's going to happen. And like, say in boxing, like, there are knockdowns. So even if you have odd number of rounds, if another guy is winning a bunch of rounds and happens to get knocked down, you can still have a draw situation mathematically. I mean, use your imagination on this. But the thing is that I think the majority of fights would be great if we actually had odd number rounds, if we went to decision, because I think we get a more concrete verdict. Kev, what's your thoughts on that? Do you think we get more of a concrete verdict? Kev?
I don't know. To be honest with you, I think the issue is not the rounds, the number of rounds. I think the main issue in my mind is just the quality of, like, the judges, using the same people over and over and over, training more people to judge fights and not just, kind of going with the status quo all the time. I think that's really the issue, but because it's not like we're getting a whole lot of draws, in fights. And so I don't know. I don't know if that necessarily solves the issue, because let's use an example. So you still got 3 judges judging the fight. So just say one judge scores one way, one judge scores another way, and then the third one, let's say, I don't know. I guess in that sense, you kind of do eliminate draws.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think that's really. I mean, that wasn't the issue in this fight. I mean, this fight was just close, and one guy won.
Well, it could have been a draw, though. I think it was very, very close like that. I'm just saying, like, overall with boxing, like,
Well, I mean, okay, I could understand. I could understand that rationale if there was a lot of draws in boxing, but I mean, rarely ever do you get a draw. I mean, I think maybe
that's why the odds are so high in Vegas for a draw.
I think what possibly needs to be corrected, and I think people have talked about. I've heard people talk about it, and I think they make valid points. Is so for example, I think in some country, I think it's Panama, they have some where they score rounds. Like, if you win a definitive round, it's a 9-5, and then, or I'm sorry, if you win definitively, it's 10-9. If you win the round and it's close, then it's like a 9.5, something like that. So essentially what happens is, if one guy wins a close round and one guy wins a round definitively, and these are rounds without a knockdown, obviously,
right,
it doesn't make those rounds like the same, because essentially, just say one guy wins 6 rounds, really close, okay? But he gets 6 rounds, and another guy wins his 6 rounds, and they're all very decisively won rounds, and he beats the other guy up in the rounds. Or I wouldn't even say beats the other guy up, but there's definitely, like, no dispute who won those rounds. Should those rounds be considered the same? I mean, do you kind of understand where
No, I follow what you're saying exactly, man. Yeah,
so I don't know. I mean, it's just a thought. But I don't see draws being the problem in boxing. What I see the problem is just the subjectiveness of judging. What you're looking at, and sometimes what. Because I've been to the the Association of Boxing Commission's judging seminar, and I even have the I think I have the booklet that tells you kind of how you're supposed to approach judging, and the bottom line in judging, from my understanding, is concentration. You have to concentrate and be paying attention to what's going on all the time, and I think what happens too is people who watch boxing at home are not judges, so they have distractions. So they're drinking or they're doing other things at the same time.
They got their beer in their hand.
Yeah, so I think fans at home don't understand that when you're a boxing judge, you're supposed to be watching every single second of that round. Your whole 100% concentration is supposed to be on what is going on at every second and every moment of that fight. When you're watching the fight at home, I mean, you're sitting there, you're watching as entertainment, you're listening to what the commentators are saying, you're swayed by their bias or what their interpretation of what's going on, and that all has to be taken into consideration that whatever you're hearing, whatever you're seeing, that particular judge is not hearing or seeing the same thing, and it's in a completely different context. So sometimes when you are watching at home and you have a perception on who won or lost the fight, a lot of that is because there's a lot of different things influencing what you're seeing. So that's just kind of my point of view.
It would be beautiful to bring Pedro Fernandez on our show, who I just spoke to the other day, and I said, it's time to do a show, brother. It's long overdue with the three of us, especially, which what I think would be a first because we've all done shows individually together.
Yeah.
But if we had Pedro on, he would be great at this too, describing, because he went to the seminars with you.
Yes.
So I'm going to hit him up and see if he wants to come on next week. I think that'd be a great time and very informative in a lot of ways for a lot of people for a lot of reasons, because we could get Mr. Pedro Fernandez uncensored. And that's a whole different animal.
Yeah. We'll definitely have to put that out there, and then hopefully if we can have him on the show,
I'll talk to him tomorrow.
We'll try to put the info out there so we can get some people in the chat to ask some questions and stuff. It's just I'll
talk to him tomorrow.
Yeah. Unfortunately, it's been a month, more than a month since we've done a show.
Has it been that fucking long?
Yeah, I think it's been over a month. So we're gonna get things back in the swing of things, and
oh man,
there's a lot of good boxing that's coming up, so we got to just keep pounding these shows out. So yeah, definitely hope everybody enjoys the fights tomorrow, and then we're hopefully by Tuesday we'll have a post-fight show and talk about what we saw, and maybe there'll be a couple big upsets. Who knows? I'm definitely looking forward to this weekend. You want to take us out, John?
Let's roll out, Kevin. Everyone, enjoy your weekend. Enjoy the fights. Peace out, everyone. We'll see you on Tuesday. Peace.